a prickly pear, and I've always wanted to go on a long train ride.
Oh, and we are taking that sweet, sweet frozen train ride on down through the tundra of, well, apparently the world. But we'll be talking about that today because it is time to vote, and all of those lovely, lovely people over at patreon.com/HMP have voted. And, you know how to read your podcasting catching material of sorts. You know we're doing Snowpiercer, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But we do want to say thank you to all those people who support the show over at patreon.com/HMP. But if you can't do that, my goodness, you might as well go over and give us a 5-star review on iTunes, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger!
And this one comes to us from, I like this, because to me, this is the smartest way to get some free advertising for nothing. This one comes to us from Graves Law Firm.
Sweet. They got that demographic they're looking for here.
So, if you need a lawyer we're going to assume one thing, I know that our listeners get sued a lot. Yeah, very litigious crowd. So, this one is entitled Geeks Like Us, 5 stars. Happened across this podcast searching for Superman 2. Listening to this podcast is like hanging out with my friends. Love it. Can't recommend it enough. That's from Graves Law Firm. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because the name seems familiar, I think he found us on YouTube, like looking up like the Superman and Wonder Woman and things like that, and found it through here.
Nice.
Which also wants me, which prompts me, rather, to bring up the fact that one of our so not only do we put the show out on, podcasting from, Google to iTunes, all over the place, we also upload, or at least try to upload, every episode over to YouTube as well, and it does it kind of all automatically. So we do that with every show, and Super Lopez came up, and Super Lopez right now on YouTube has, I think, probably close to 100,000 views. And but no one likes it. Everyone's very upset at it because apparently it was like an hour and something, and people thought that we actually put the episode up there. So a lot of them are just,
I see.
Yeah. So a lot of people were just looking for Super Lopez. They found us, realized this movie's never going to start, and then they curse at us in Spanish.
Oh man, I love it. But it's still, 70,000 views.
I call those views no matter what. No matter how you slice it, I call those views. So if you're...
We'll expect your call any day now, YouTube.
Yeah, so get us some of that sponsorship money. But no, if you'd like to check that out, check out Hero Movie Podcast over on YouTube as well. So if you're at a place where you can't get to, some podcatching device of sorts, perhaps you can play it on YouTube at work. Share the love, man. Speaking of love, let's get over to the lovely, lovely people at Patreon because, man, every single month, no matter what your donation level is, you get to vote on a movie that we watch. The movies that we had to choose from this month were The Amazing Spider-Man, Zoom, Speed Racer, Sam J. Jones, The Spirit, which, mind you, I will say came in dead last at a cool 0 votes, so apparently that one's staying on the list for a while. But the big winner by a landslide was Snowpiercer. So here is the trailer for Snowpiercer.
This chaos. 1,000 people in an iron box. 18 years I've hated the train. 18 years I've waited for this moment.
This is your world. The train saved humanity.
The engine lasts forever. The population must always be kept in balance.
I said sit down.
Passengers, eternal order flows from the sacred engine. We must occupy our preordained position. I belong to the front. You belong to the tail. Know your place. Keep your place.
Those bastards in the front think they own us.
We'll be different when we get there.
What you say?
We take the engine. And we control the world.
When is the time?
Soon.
This is disorder.
We're going to the front. Open the gate.
We know you well, Mr. Curtis. We've been watching you. Precisely 74% of you shall die.
not a leader.
You're already our leader.
This is your destiny.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Snowpiercer, our Patreon supported movie this month. Let's go ahead and do it. This is based on a comic book, as is every movie that we do here, so let's do it.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Bruce, I don't know that a lot of people knew Snowpiercer was a comic book. Enlighten us.
Snowpiercer is based on a French comic called Le Transperce-Neige, written by Jacques Loeb with art by Jean-Marc Rochette. It was originally published back in 1982 and didn't get a proper English translation until Titan Comics published one in 2014. The comic story is a very different one from what we get in the movie, with a plot centered on the need to cut the last car loose because the engine is losing power while a deadly virus spreads throughout the passengers in all levels. Now, in the comics, there's also a reveal that a second train called the Icebreaker is out there on the same track, and the people on that train fear a collision with Snowpiercer as it slows down. There's a revolt kind of like the one we see in this movie, but it actually happens on board the Icebreaker rather than the Snowpiercer. And they also eventually find a surviving, non-train-based colony living in an old train station. This compound is found to be a hybrid research laboratory and amusement park named Futureland. Its deranged founders, the Switchmen, have prolonged their life by using the stem cells of babies, and they use a radio signal to lure in trains. They also all wear mouse masks for some reason. There's also a 2-part prequel, which happens to be written by Matz, the same French writer who wrote Bullet to the Head, part 1 being called Extinction, and part 2 called Apocalypse, that detail the events leading up to and causing the Ice Age featured in the comic. According to UK media outlet The Independent, quote, Snowpiercer is undoubtedly one of the greatest science fiction comics ever written, end quote. It's fairly obvious that the train in the story is a metaphor about class warfare and the fate of the underprivileged, but still it gives us a story sufficiently interesting to keep opinions of the comic from breaking along socio-political lines. The artist Rochette has been praised for creating the subtle and emotive facial expressions and excellent character work. Sadly, the original writer, Jacques Loeb, passed away after the first story arc, and Benjamin Legrand took over for the sequels. If you're looking for a story with a silver lining, a happy ending, or a nugget of inspiration, the Snowpiercer comic isn't going to have it. But at least one reviewer stated, and I quote, "The beauty and hopelessness of this book stays with the reader long after the final page," end quote. Robert Bricken of Gizmodo says, Snowpiercer is hardly the first story to examine a classist dystopia, but what makes it unique is its refusal to adhere to any of its predecessors' conventions. The protagonist is an escapee from the back, but he's not trying to lead a revolution or improve his people's lot. It won't surprise anyone to know that the upper classes hate and fear the people of the rear of the train and have some diabolical plans for them. But the fact remains that in a certain sense, the lower class is literally threatening not just the society of Snowpiercer, but the lives of everyone on board. All in all, a different take on old tropes and absence of anything close to a traditional hero combines, in Rob Bricken's words again, to make it not just an excellent comic and an engrossing read, but one that feels like it was written yesterday instead of 32 years ago.
Very nice. Wait a minute. 32 years ago? I don't want to be the guy who tells you about math here, Bruce, but...
Well, it was a quote from an article that was written a few years ago.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
So
okay.
it was 32 years ago in the quote.
That's fair, because I was born in 1982, and I'm almost 38, so I was like that math's a little bit off, but now that it's a quote...
It's quote, but, you know, what am I going to do? Put words in the guy's mouth?
Yes, you
Don't
do.
put words in that guy's mouth, and Bruce is too good a journalist to do that.
That's true. That's why you won that Marconi.
Yes.
Well, here's the IMDb plotline. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. In a future where a failed climate change experiment has killed half of all life except for the lucky few who boarded the Snowpiercer, a train that travels around the globe, a new class system emerges. The stars Chris Evans, Jamie Bell,
Hold on. Half of all life?
That's
Half all life.
Killed all life except for the lucky few. All right, I read it a little bit quickly. Fine. Fair.
And you point out my 32 years.
That's true. All right, listen. Bruce is the best, and I'm the worst.
I thought it was the IMDb review that was saying.
Hey,
that.
listen, IMDb's half wrong most of the time. Like I said, starring Chris Evans, Jamie Bell, Tilda Swinton, Ed Harris, Kanko Sung, John Hurt, Octavia Spencer, and more. Directed by just now Oscar winner Bong Joon-ho.
Dang right.
So good for him, man. But this was his kind of a big foray into American filmmaking. Didn't do super well
English
for him.
language. I wouldn't call it American. I call it English language.
Well, fair enough. English language.
Because the U.S. release of this movie was an absolute disaster. I mean, do we want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So domestic made $5 million.
And I mean, we need to talk about the reason though that it wasn't released wide. I mean, it made a decent amount per screen, but it was released on like 8 screens and stuff like that. But the whole U.S. release was held up by Hollywood's least favorite producer, I would say, at this point, and that's Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, this was definitely at the tail of the whole Weinstein thing and whatnot. And one of the big things was way back in the day. These were guys who were known to just be able to get your small independent film into 1 billion theaters, and they were really good. But like once they left the whole Miramax thing and started the Weinstein Company, all that cachet just disappeared. And like it was so tough outside of like Tarantino stuff. Most of the things that they put out like pretty much hit the dirt right away.
And I want to say my hat's off to Bong for being an auteur. Because Harvey basically said, change these things or we're not getting a U.S. release. And he's like, okay, no U.S. release, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He thought Weinstein thought that American audiences would be too stupid for the movie that he made.
And he might not be wrong, but still, what he wanted to change, I don't think would have made anything better for the dum-dums.
How dare you besmirch a nation that voted for Donald Trump? How dare you?
No comment.
Smart move. But Sean, I think you were probably the biggest fan of all of us of this movie. I think when we were coming up with the selection choices and everything, I don't remember if this one was yours, but I knew that you would be the most psyched if this was the one that got picked.
I love this movie with a blinding passion. It's one of my favorite movies. So when this one got picked, I was pretty happy. This movie does away with all the things that drive me nuts about movies. Like, hey, we read the book Save the Cat, so we have to have a moment where blah 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 blah, and you can just go beat by beat. You can tell the screenwriters who read Save the Cat, basically, is what I'm saying. This movie is none of those things. It is nonsensical why it's on a train. Like, why are you choosing a train for this? Yeah, they explain it, but it's still a train anyway. So
you know how we save humanity? We put them on a constantly moving train that will never stop. It's like, what now?
It's great. It makes no sense. I love it. And then, just the fact that this is a very smart movie. This is one of those movies where, it's about the class warfare, but there's stuff underneath that too. And I love subtext, and I love layer on layer movies, and this is one of them. And it's disguised as like a class warfare thing, but there's a lot of other things happening in this movie that I just really, really love this thing. And so good on you, HMPers, or should I say ding-a-lingers. This is such a good movie. It's not a fun movie, but it's great.
I'm kind of shocked it took us so long to get around to this, and it took a Patreon vote at that, because this is like critically praised. hugely beloved on like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb with high ratings, which everything by Bong has like super high Rotten Tomatoes ratings, which probably tells me that guy's going places, right?
He's got a little something going on, I guess.
Yeah, Weinstein said, if you don't do what I tell you, you'll never win an Oscar.
Oops.
Isn't he involved with the Underdog remake now?
I do not know the answer to that.
He is not. He is not, sir.
But, the thing, it just surprised me that it took us this long. And a big part of that has to be because it was sort of a direct to video. It had a limited release, but it was kind of a direct to video, and it probably just kind of got missed in the shuffle when we were doing stuff. But I'm kind of surprised it took us this long to get to a movie that so many people like. And I would say that, not going to lie, winning that Oscar really made us think about putting this movie on the vote.
Yeah. Now, have you guys, maybe you've seen Parasite. How familiar are you guys with Bong Joon-ho's filmography?
I am familiar with it. I've only seen this in Parasite, but I've seen a whole lot of trailers for Okja, which looks crazy enough that I should be watching it right now.
Yeah, I think you would like that movie, Bruce. Those are the three that I've seen. I've seen Snowpiercer, Okja, and Parasite.
Okay, good. Because those are good. The Host is really good. Mother is pretty good. I can't remember if I saw.
I've seen The
Toki
Host.
or no.
I did not know that was one of his movies. I love The Host.
You've seen the Korean language, The Host.
Yes.
Not the Stephanie Meyer weird, terrible movie.
Oh, my Lord.
I didn't even know that was a movie.
Oh,
okay,
I think
I was hoping we weren't like making you think, wow, he really did direct a stinker here. Okay.
But no, the Host is great. And what's interesting about even if you just take like this movie, The Host, and like Parasite, class warfare is definitely something that Bong Joon-ho comes back to time and time and time again. And what I find interesting about his directing and everything and tackling that subject is that it's not what I would consider the normal Hollywood go-to, as far as like the way Hollywood normally would go is that all of the people who are, at the bottom of society and everything, they're the noble good and everything, just trying to get up the ladder. And the people that are at the top are just purely evil, whatever. And that's not necessarily always the case with his stuff. Sometimes the people that are around the bottom rung of all this do as horrible things as the people on top. And sometimes the people up top can be a little bit more, have a little bit broader of a of life than you would imagine someone would be in an American movie where we just paint them as like, oh, that's the the rich evil person.
What I think, or what my takeaway is from this movie and Parasite, the only two that I've seen, so maybe I shouldn't say that this is how Bong sees the world, but between those two movies, I think what he's saying is it doesn't matter where you are, you just kind of got to be evil to keep being alive. Like life is violence, like living is not an easy thing to do, no matter which level you're on. There's like horribleness that gets done so you can sustain yourself. The people in the back of the train eat babies. The people in the front of the train shove babies down in the engine to make it run. You're doing the same thing just for different reasons, but it's still evil. Like, I kind of get the idea that he thinks maybe people aren't a good thing to have on the earth.
There's a chance for that, I think.
And also, having seen these two movies, like I feel like with Parasite and with this, like he's really saying something there, but I don't know what it is. I know it's touching other people maybe more than it does me. I also know there's definitely a dimension to his movies that is lost on me, but it's clearly there because people praise the heck out of everything he does.
And there's probably a lot of different, at least culturally, things that are different that we would not even, recognize as a point of like, oh, this is what it means, over there as opposed to here. Like here, it just doesn't even translate to us as something that, goes, oh, I understand that.
And I love the story of how this movie came to be made too. Are you guys very familiar with why Bong wanted to make this movie? How the story played out?
I don't know that at all.
Mm-mm.
Well, according to the Wikipedia entries, I didn't do any deep diving here, but Bong just ran across this comic in 2004 in Seoul in a comic shop or a bookstore, and he just read the whole thing right there in the store and decided he wanted to make a movie out of it. And you got to remind you, there was no English translation at the time. So, and the studio system over here had no idea this thing existed. Maybe there was a Korean translation. Maybe he read it in French. I don't know. But it was like something that was on nobody's radar, despite in Europe being considered one of the greatest comics ever written. And he showed it to a friend of his and spitballed the idea of making a movie out of it. And it just happens that that friend he showed it to was the guy who directed Old Boy. His name is Park. And it's one of those things that makes me think, okay, Korea must have like 12 people, even though I know it's a huge country. But it's funny, like the one guy he shows it to is it's like the guy on his way up showing it to the guy who's there.
Well, there. I would put them both at like, as far as like, well, in my mind, I guess those two are like kind of top Korean directors.
Oh yeah, but
those are your boys right there. It's just like
2004. They were, in 2004, it's probably peak Park, and it's like early Bong.
True.
So different points there 16 years ago. But it was actually Park who went out and secured the movie rights for Bong so that he could make it.
Oh, that's great.
Huh. And it became the largest film budget of all time for a Korean financed movie, which, is pretty cool. High hopes from the get-go. So I found it all. And basically what has been attributed to Bong, this is a paraphrase because I'm sure he said it in Korean, but he said he had to come up with a completely new story and new characters because he knew he couldn't fit that wonderful story into 2 hours, and he didn't want to try to pick and choose and narrow it down. So he took the story and just retold it in a way that fits the cinema screen, which is way better than giving it the Goyer treatment, where you keep the names the same. Let me be the first person ever to go on record as saying I think Bong is better than Goyer when it comes to storytelling.
Controversial statements here on HMP.
I'm the only person deranged.
Get a lot of hate mail for that one.
I'm the only person deranged enough to even make that comparison. That's why. And then also the set that they made it on. Now they filmed this in the Czech Republic, and because Bong really, really wanted a particular realism to this, they built a gigantic gimbal that weighed close to 100 tons, and they have like an actual train built on a gimbal so that they could rock the train side to side while they're filming without going anywhere.
So it was an actual train that they put on a gimbal?
It was like 4 cars. I think it was 4 cars, but it was a train. It was a rebuilt train, a little bit larger because they couldn't fit. It's
I see. So it's a set. I see.
Yeah, it's a set, but it's built to be a train a little bit wider than a standard train, so they can get the setting in. But it's really good, interesting to read about it because they talked about the cart that was the aquarium. They really built that, and then once they built it, they're like, the set builders built it. Then the lighting folks came in and said, you can't light this. This is like impossible to light. And they had to like invent new ways to light it. It's great reading about it. But considering the largest budget of any Korean financed film is still a small budget by Hollywood standards, like 45 mil or something like that. So just looking at the massive, like it sounds like Cameron filming Titanic with all the stuff they built and did just for this movie. But he did it on such a fraction of the budget that Cameron needed. He's the Korean Cameron. That's what I'm going to call him from now
on. Listen, I'll go.
He certainly shoots story like Cameron does. There's no getting around that.
Well, he went big on this one. I think it's just incredibly interesting just to read about it.
Well, we got Chris Evans here as our star and everything. Now, I think we all enjoy Chris Evans as Captain America and a lot of other roles and stuff that he was in. Part of me, though, while watching this just was kind of like, is he too much of, and again, this could be Captain America cloud in my mind, and I'll certainly cop to that, but is he too big of a guy, I guess, to, like, I don't feel like he's an everyman in this. I don't feel like he would be at the back, especially for 17 years, kind of pouring over the same thing. I'm watching this, and I'm like, who I would think would be, like, at least as far as how they kind of portray him in this movie, I think John Krasinski probably would have done a good job of just being a little bit more everyman than Captain America here.
But that's one of the subtexts of this movie is that Curtis is not an everyman. From the get of go, when they find him, you learn later in the movie that even in the back, there is a hierarchy to the back as well. Like, you hate the class system, yet you benefit from the class system because you were chosen from the first moment that you got into the train because you are going to eventually end up being the replacement.
Yeah, and it's not just the back. Out of the whole train, out of everybody on the train, he's the one that has the necessary traits, they decide.
Right. And that happened, that's throughout. So you don't want to have an everyman in this role. It's why Chris Evans works so well for this character, because that's the first thing that I thought of as well when I first saw the movie, is that, he's too good looking. He's too big to be someone who's like one of the poor people. But that's the whole point, is that, he is too big. He is too handsome.
And the costume designers did talk about how it was a huge challenge to try to hide his muscles. I mean, they did the best they could to make him not look so muscular. Like, essentially, they put him in really, really thin coats that look like big, heavy coats. But the truth is, they're like almost paper thin, and it's his muscles that make the coats look big. And they're hoping people think it's just a padded coat. And you know what I mean? But they actually talked about going to great lengths to try to make him look smaller than he is, or to at least hide his physique, because of what you're saying.
That's kind of what you do in real life, right, Bruce?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people would never know what a cut piece of beef I am with my shirt on.
Right. I'm wearing a parka.
And then, also with Chris Evans in this, I think Chris Evans is in it because he's who Bong wanted for this role. Because the idea I got is this is his first English language movie. And when he put out the call for people who thought they would not ever get a chance to necessarily be in a Bong film, I mean, he was already, I guess, had a reputation as this fantastic director, but he worked with Korean casts. But from what I heard, when he called, people came running. Like, he had no trouble getting people cast in this for whatever amount they had to pay. They would take it. I mean, look at the cast here, the winners that he has on what is not a huge budget. I mean, it's like people just were arguing over the chance to be in a Bong film.
Yeah. This cast is amazing.
And I don't know how apocryphal it is, but in interviews, Tilda Swinton had said she had decided never to make another movie until she found out she could be in this one. And then that got her back into making movies again.
And she hasn't stopped making wild and crazy decisions ever since, and it's been fantastic. Because
you're not wrong.
It feels like this is the movie where it took a super turn for her career, and she just goes, "I'm gonna be insane," and in a great way. Like, it's all really worked out quite well, but she just takes roles now that they're not your kind of standard, Hollywood roles. Are just like, how could we make her look weird or just be just a strange person?
And the actor that played Nam Goong, the security specialist, the Korean security specialist, I mean, he's worked with Bong quite a bit. He was in Parasite. He was in The Host. So, like I said, I think these are people that Bong wanted to be there. And the lady that played his daughter was in The Host also. So I think he got the cast he wanted. So if Chris Evans is in that role, it's because the director, I think, pictured Chris Evans as being perfect for that role. And
really, when you look at it, it's just like they should have used a lot of this to be able to kind of sell it. It's like, hey, we've got this movie with Chris Evans, who is at this point still gigantic because he's Captain America.
Well, Bruce said at the beginning, at the top of the show, that basically it has nothing to do with the movie itself. Why this movie tanked? It tanked because because Ho wouldn't listen to the Weinstein.
Right. But that's the thing. I mean, I guess ultimately what I'm saying is that they didn't look at that and go, look at all the advantages we have here. They were only like, we think we know what the disadvantage is, and they screwed the pooch that way.
And even without a U.S. release, it made double its money. So, win-win. And we got a better movie for it. I think.
Oh, my God. I love this movie so much.
You mean you wouldn't want the Blade Runner monologue running all through it? No, that's what he wanted. He wanted a monologue at the beginning and the end explaining what happened at the beginning, what happened at the end, just so you got the point.
I'll say this. I understand them not wanting to have the monologue in Blade Runner, but I think for your first viewing of Blade Runner, it's not a bad thing to have.
When you are a 13-year-old boy, which is usually the first time you end up watching that movie, you totally, absolutely need that voiceover. It's when you're an adult.
Otherwise,
you know what, the voiceover is too much.
You're going to be scratching your head going, what are they even talking about? What is this? I don't get it. But as an adult, you watch and go like, oh, yeah, you don't need that. But when you watch it as young, it's like, oh, that needs to be there, because it's very confusing if it's not.
And they've got Jamie Bell in this movie. And here's what I think about Jamie Bell. He does great performances in movies I like, and I don't like him for some reason that I can't figure out.
I know the reason why.
Why is that?
because you can see through the performance that he's that he's a massive tool.
That's probably it.
I've heard nothing but horror stories about that dude on set.
Yeah, I am not a fan of Jamie Bell.
Listen, Billy Elliot had to dance a whole lot as a kid, and he don't need to be taking no guff from nobody.
You know who
look
else?
At like Val Kilmer. He is from the Val Kilmer school, man. If you are that talented an actor and you still don't work that often, there's a reason why that is.
And Adam, you know who else was Billy Elliot? And that's Tom Holland, and I love Tom Holland. So, kids, be a Tom Holland. Don't be a Jamie Bell.
That's the guy who's the Thing. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Octavia Spencer in this. I mean, killer cast for a movie that didn't get
I will say this. One of the most hilarious parts of this entire movie, and it shouldn't have caught me like it does, but it's hilarious. First of all, at one point, there's a whole a crowd of people chanting. Now, when you have scenes where there's a crowd of people chanting, it's good to have nice wide shots and you hear all the chants and like there's a lot of disparate things going on between a lot of different people. But sometimes when you get a nice close-up of somebody in that and you hear specifically what they're chanting within this route, you go, oh, that's a crazy person or whatever. But my favorite part is Octavia Spencer. She looks like Forrest Whitaker in drag, screaming, "Chicken, chicken." It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life because it was just so awkward and weird, and like she looked like she didn't quite understand what she was doing at the time. She looked a little bit lost in the scene, but she was just like, yeah, chicken, give us some chicken.
And I hope she has that on her roll that her agent sends to casting directors, just her yelling that scene. Just
looking confused like a little kid lost in the mall. Chicken, and their faces all busted up. It's like, what am I watching here? This is great.
I also wonder where this train was parked when everybody got on and it took off, because man, they seem to cover a lot of geography in the accents that have stuck around for 17 years.
Yeah, did they have stops along the way of like, oh, okay, now we're picking up France?
Because I figure they get full like before they take off from the first station if the world's ending. You know, I don't care if you're in Hoboken or if you're in like the smallest town you've ever seen. You're going to be full if the world's ending and all you got's one train.
Do they start you at the back and you just go up to the front, or do they start you at the front and then you have to go all the way down to the back? Or is there separate ones for each car?
Yeah, the nice thing about trains is they're not airplanes, so you have like multiple spots where you can get on the train.
Maybe, but then again, we only see that one door that goes to the outside when we get to the front of the...
You know what? I retract my statement. You're absolutely right. They have to go up in the front and move their way all the way back, which means the dirty, smelly people had to get on first.
You get to see all the stuff that you can't get. And like, no wonder they're pissed off there at the tail section of the thing. They had to walk through all the good stuff to get there.
Man, they got Caliban from X-Men Apocalypse giving out boiled eggs, and we're back here eating cockroaches.
There was like an entire wheelbarrow full of eggs. I don't know why.
And people were so excited. I want to, there's a lot of downsides to an apocalypse, but if people get that excited for boiled eggs, I wouldn't mind.
That's a pretty rough existence when you're just like, a boiled egg. Woo!
There's a description of that scene. There's a description that like a descriptor that happens that I find so off-putting, which is they wheelbarrow the eggs in, right? And the teacher goes, "Oh, the hard-boiled eggs with your once-a-year hard-boiled eggs, children." And they're still warm.
Oh.
The still warm part is the part where I was like, how unappetizing can you make that thing?
I like warm boiled eggs.
Hey, Mama, how about you heat up those deviled eggs there? I need them nice and piping hot before I eat one. That's disgusting.
And these are like elementary school kids. I want to see an elementary school where like kids start slugging each other over the last boiled egg in the cafeteria.
I want a boiled egg. No, I was like, and then somebody, you ever freeze an egg? We did that when I worked at a grocery store when I was a kid. We froze like a dozen eggs and then just chucked them up against a cement wall as hard as we could. Boy, the things you do when you're 16.
Was that when you got fired?
No, I don't think I got fired from that job.
It should have been. What do you think about the protein blocks? I actually think they look kind of not that bad compared to stuff in the like they sell at GNC.
I'm not going to lie to you. I watched this episode and I go, what if they did like an Alamo Draft House where they have like themed meals and stuff like that, and like in the first course was a protein block of some sort? I'm like, what would that taste like? What would it be? But looking at it, I'm just going, I bet it's a big giant block of licorice, like big black licorice bar.
It just looks like gelatin.
Yeah, like a big gelatin block, but tastes like licorice. Because that's the face I would have when I'd be like, well, I guess it's food. Oh God. Ugh.
Now, Sean, you know when you're sitting home alone and you're eating Vienna sausages straight from the can with your fingers?
Continue.
Yes, well, go on, Bruce.
It has like the little gelatin in there that works as a shock absorber between the wieners, and I imagine that the protein blocks kind of taste like those little gelatin chunks.
You got to like drain that water out before you eat those. Don't be eating it with the water in there, Bruce. That's disgusting.
I know why you're bringing up my name in this, Bruce. It's because you know that I've never done that before.
I picture Sean breaks out the chopsticks and eat his Vienna sausages like they're sushi or something.
I don't eat Vienna sausages.
Wrap them in seaweed.
Well, I know what I'm bringing next time we hang out, Sean.
Please do.
You want me to put a little bit of wasabi on your Vienna sausage there?
I've got the off-brand that's just
also,
called
Bruce, it's very telling that you're like, you know what? The apocalypse doesn't seem so bad if Powder is wheeling out eggs to everybody. What?
I like eggs.
What?
We're wheeling out eggs and we've got potted meat. What do you want?
You know, you're like, hey, this is okay. This is okay. All right, man. Awesome. Kids love hard-boiled eggs. Powder's here. We're killing it.
Oh, man. Did you guys recognize him, though, as Caliban?
No, I didn't.
Very recognizable dude. I'm shocked you didn't. I mean, there can't be more than like 3 of that guy in the world.
For sure. For sure.
The only guy that I've seen on screen that looks like him is the guy that plays Victor Zsasz in the Gotham show. So there's like 2 of them that I know of, and probably a third out there that somebody else
Bruce
knows.
is like,
Powder.
Powder.
All bald white people look the same.
Now, in a movie that's really pretty good, there's one thing that just is kind of like there for because it's practical to have it there, and it doesn't fit with anything else going on. But the fact that the guy's daughter is clairvoyant just kind of bugged me a little bit. Like nobody else anywhere has any special gifts, but for some reason she can see the future just a little bit.
Or can she?
Well, she always knew what was on the other side of the door before it got open.
She kept knowing.
I mean, maybe she's just super lucky.
Nah, she's like Domino. It's still a superpower if you're lucky every time.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, fine. If you want to count it like that, then yes. Okay, fair.
But like nobody else had anything that seemed like an unnatural gift, but then she's clairvoyant, and nobody mentions it other than one time. I think one time Chris Evans asks her like, "How can you do that?" And she doesn't really answer.
It seems like one of the very few times in this movie where they just didn't go all the way with that plot line. Like it just got dropped.
And also, I would say, other than maybe one time where her clairvoyance impacts the story just a tiny bit, I think you'd make her not clairvoyant. You have almost the same movie, and it's just as good. That's why I figure there's something that matters there to somebody, but I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's a fair point. But you say there's nobody with superhero powers, and I say I would say that Tilda Swinton has some sort of power over fashion.
Okay, I love her fashion. Her name is Minister Mason. That's her character name, and she self-described her approach to this character as a mixture of Margaret Thatcher and Colonel Gaddafi.
Oh, so good!
Wow, what a combo!
And then when she was, I think it was her, maybe it was Bong. I don't know for sure which one of it was. But when they were giving the costume designer reference photos, they had a picture of like some female ornithologist from the 1970s that they got from the Smithsonian library or something like that they gave her. I mean, like a really weird and super specific look she was going for there. Yeah,
it says bird lady to me. That sounds right.
Yeah, and the thing is, they did all this really specific work to basically recreate Ayn Rand. Like if you look at pictures of Ayn Rand, that's who she is. So I almost think they knew, yeah, we're going to make her Ayn Rand, but then we're going to come up with all this story so that the Ayn Rand fans don't think we're digging on Ayn Rand or something weird.
And
like
then there's the whole train aspect and stuff, so it's not completely unfounded.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that part.
It's kind of like that time Homer Simpson was trying to come up with a fake name, and he looked at his home and said home Sim, and looked at his son's son. Oh, rats! But I feel like they said, yeah, we're going to make her Ayn Rand. Now let's come up with some just absolute ridiculous explanation on how he came up with this character.
It's good enough. Trying to think of a couple other things.
And, you know what? Let's stay with Tilda Swinton for a minute because her performance is fabulous in this movie. Like when it really impressed me, it just felt so real world. Like I have heard this lady talk to people before. It's like when the guy's arm is being frozen off and she has 7 minutes and she starts to talk and then the translators are translating. She tells them, we don't have time for all that. We've only got 7 minutes. Then she gives her speech and then she's finished and there's still like a minute left. So she doesn't know what to do. Like she should have just like not rushed it.
Now, quick question, because maybe it's just a subtext or something that I didn't quite understand. Why do we end up taking this gentleman and throwing his arm outside of the train, freezing it, and other than, you know, it's cool.
He threw a shoe at somebody, so it was his punishment.
Okay, so that was just for the shoe thing. I thought that was like also to like, oh, by the way, this. I thought for a second, I'm like, this is how we power the train by get people's frozen arms out there, and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Man, no, that would be a crazy story.
I don't know how this helps this train go at all.
Because there's only like 2 one-armed people that we see, so that means like one arm must last for years.
No, man, and there's a ton of people missing arms and legs and.
Oh, I just noticed Gilliam, was that his name? Gilliam had a missing arm, and we find out later that he gave that arm up to save a baby, and then we see this guy lose his arm. I didn't notice other people missing arms.
I think Gilliam's even missing a foot or two, isn't he?
Yeah, he's missing an arm and a leg, and I think that's the stories. He was giving up his limbs for people to eat so they wouldn't eat each other.
Please stop eating, baby, please. Don't be eating no more babies. Just eat my arm instead.
Doesn't it feel like Ed Harris just when you hire Ed Harris, you just go, so here's your character. We know you're going to be playing Ed Harris. It's fine. Yep. We want Ed Harris here. But we're just looking for Ed Harris plus you are on a train. Like that's literally all he does is just Ed Harris, and everybody is okay with it because Ed Harris is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you don't know is he brought his own grill and meat. They didn't even tell him to do that.
Not part of the scene. The man was just hungry.
Yeah. One good thing about Ed Harris is you're never caught off guard by his performance.
It's true. It's true. Look, I'm going to play Pollock the same way that I play the guy from NASA and also the guy who owns the train. Same guy.
And the wannabe cowboy from Westworld, same guy.
I don't care if I'm doing that Westworld stuff or if I'm trying to stop, or threaten the San Francisco with a nuclear annihilation due to chemical weapons.
Now, I think for me, I don't know if it's for everybody, but for me, the scene that's been most memorable, now this is the 3rd time I've seen this movie, and it keeps being the scene that sticks out to me as the most memorable, is the one where Chris Evans' characters, they're talking to Nam, oh geez, I have to look at it. Nam Goong is the name of the Korean gentleman. And he's telling the story that he says, the thing I hate most about myself is that I know what people taste like and I know babies taste the best. But I think that whole scene is like, if this had gotten a wide release, maybe what they were hoping would be the for your consideration tagline to be under this one. Because I think that one is a very memorable and well done scene.
Oh my gosh. I just thought of the second course for this Alamo Drafthouse Snowpiercer feast.
Don't say babies.
No, just baby food.
Okay, good. Baby food is better. I thought you were going to say,
well, because obviously we're not gonna cook you up a baby, but
we take a bunch of spam and you can mold. Sean, you know how sometimes you mold spam to look like other food, so you can also do that with this stuff called menudo, if you're familiar with it.
Wasn't Ricky Martin in that?
Exactly.
It's beans, right?
Maybe. They say don't ask and we won't tell. That's how they market Menudo. Just eat it.
Just eat it. Shut up.
Shapeable food product.
That is kind of how they fed us food back in the day. They were just like, oh, well, guess what? It's food. Just eat it and shut up. Otherwise, you don't get any food.
It's great for making a fake finger and taking it to Wendy's and put it in the chili. The Menudo does.
This guy and his chili fingers.
But yeah, I think that scene is for me the most memorable. Do you guys think that one really sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, geez, man, that's the acting powerhouse scene for sure. There's so much to recommend this movie, but yeah, I would say that's the scene that I like best. Yeah,
and it's also like the memorable line. If you're throwing out one line from this, it's like the you're going to regret it, not now, but someday, and for the rest of your life. Like that's the equivalent in this movie.
Yeah,
y'all remember, baby.
Or Spock, I'm your cousin, something like that. I don't know what the Star Trek one is. I just made that up.
I did thoroughly enjoy the school kids car. I don't know why I enjoyed it as much as I do. Maybe it's the eggs. Who's to say?
Because Allison Pill is she is great at being somebody you don't want to be around, but it's fun on screen.
Yeah, like
man, I look. I am very, very certain that she's an attractive lady, but she has the weirdest shaped head of anyone in movies right now, where it looks like a big block. It looks like Charles Schultz drew her head.
I get that.
And she kind of has crazy or not crazy, but obsessed girlfriend meme eyes. She kind of has those eyes that look like they haven't blinked in a few weeks.
Well, again, yeah, exactly. And they're. You don't like saying this, but it's like their eyes are a little bit close together, and I think that's kind of what does it.
I didn't notice that so much. I just think for effect, she's great at playing characters that seem like, man, I hope I don't have to go on a car trip with just me and them for over 30 minutes.
Yeah, she looks like the girl that would stab you.
It's not that the eyes are just close together. It's that all the entire all of her features on her face are close together.
That's what.
And she has a really big head, so it's like everything just moved to the middle of the head.
She has a normal-sized head with a small face. That's what she has.
There it is. But yeah, she's great in that role of it's just somebody that's has this kind of fake veneer and everything over that you feel like there's something that could be quite violent and everything behind the eyes, and then it turns out to be so. It's good.
Now, what do you think of the reveal that the kids are working? First off, we knew this thing was running on kids. From the first scene where they're coming in there and taking kids. We know that, I don't know if they're grinding them up and turning them into petroleum or if they're burning them like coal, but I knew this whole train is running on kids.
I knew one of two things. They were either sizing these kids up for coffin or little tiny suits, and I didn't think it was going to be suits because these were poor kids.
Yeah, but
I thought it was about harvesting organs for the rich folk. So the fact that they were just using them as machine parts is a little more humane than what was in my head the first time I watched this.
Well, we can debate that because was it? I don't know. Sometimes you might think a life of misery and servitude might be worse than a quick painless death without knowing any suffering, but that's a whole different debate. But the kids working down in the engine, this is where I get with Bong, where you have two choices at this point. Either you take some kids and put them down in the engine so everybody else can live, or we all just agree we would rather die than be the kind of monsters that put kids in a train engine so that it would run. And I kind of think for me, and everybody make their own decision, but I think this is something Bong is kind of trying to get you to consider is there a point where what it takes to survive is worse than just accepting our time is done? Because, if it forced me to confront the fact that my choice is for humans to go extinct or to shove kids in a train engine for humanity to go on, I think I would just choose, you know what? We had a good run. Let's leave this place to the polar bear that's out there.
I don't know. You put the bad kids underneath the train thing. I mean, sure, the size requirement's important, but,
there are no bad kids. They're only bad trains.
I will say this. I think that I wish they would have, at least for the first shot of the reveal of the kid under the kind of floorboards there, if you will. I wish it was a little bit longer because I did have to rewind the first time and just be like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? Oh, there's a child. Okay, I mean, because the shot wasn't clear enough and not for my taste at least, didn't stay on long enough. So I was a little bit confused. I'm like, wait a minute, what was underneath the thing? All I saw was some parts. And then, watching the second time, you're like, oh, the kid looking up. Okay, I got you.
And the security engineer, the one that they got out of the Nam Goong, he says, why don't we try a third path? Like, maybe we will die out there, but maybe we won't. It's got to be better than what we're doing in here, Yeah. And so Bong does offer us that there's that third option out there.
But I do like how they did crib it and everything, and it's just great storytelling where they're coming through and then seeing that plane, they're going down looking specifically again. Oh, now, and you find out later, now we see more of this plane, so this ice is melting. There's a chance for survival out there. So I thought that was a great little addition.
And even the cause of the ice age is different in this movie than it is in the comics. But in Bong's story, global warming was getting out of hand. There's this chemical that scientists invented called CW7 that they're going to release into the atmosphere to halt global warming, but they overdid it and caused an ice age, where he's saying we could have died slowly with global warming, but because we were do anything for our own selfishness, which is weird because that's how global warming probably got started. And then we're swinging too far the other direction. And it's like, you know what? You just need to grow old and die gracefully instead of trying to live forever.
And I agree with that because there's not a lot that we're going to be able to really do. But yet it seemed there was a bit of hope on the other side as well. So as dire as the situation was, there a glimmer of hope was on the just cresting.
And that's totally just movie. There's no hope at the end of that first volume of Snowpiercer.
No, there is not. That's the one I have.
Yeah, that's really the only one you need to, Sean. They get pretty ridiculous when Legrand comes on and they're just kind of stretching it when the second train shows up and all that stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not worth it. Just stick with the first one. You got the winner there. The big old gigantic parkas, the parkas that I will call, using the words of this movie, but Nam Goong said he knew an Eskimo lady, an Inuit lady, an Eskimo. Where do they get those gigantic parkas on this train? Because there's a whole lot of scenes going down where they are not lugging two humongous bear corpses with them, which is what those parkas look like.
Well, it's weird because the kids at the dance party are wearing those jackets.
Oh, so they kill them and take their fur coats. Now that makes sense because those absolutely look like what someone wants you to think an Eskimo would wear. And I don't personally know what an Eskimo would wear, but it absolutely looks like what would be in a children's book about Eskimos,
Right. Or some super offensive thing from the 50s that's supposed to be educational.
Fuzz around the hood.
Nanook of the North, that faux documentary.
Yes.
I'll just say, since we're kind of at the end, also.
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
Yeah, the first thing that went through my mind once the train crashes, and I'm inferring that everyone died except for the kid and the daughter, the Korean daughter that's out there with the kid. The first thing that went through my mind is, I bet they're going to try to eat that polar bear.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you see an animal,
polar bear's going to try to eat them.
The game is afoot. Bring it on, polar bear. Well, before we get to our final analysis and review for this entire movie, we need to we have to. It's in our souls. We have to find out how this movie relates one-to-one with Sylvester Stallone.
Thank you, Adam, my co-host on our new podcast, Clone Wars 30 Questions. Thank you, sir. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
That was seamless.
Perfect.
Seamless transition. Your old pal, Sweet Shawnsy from the internet, has been doing the Stallone connection for a while now. It's gotten to the point where I don't have to look it up with some actors. If I see John Hurt, there's a Stallone connection. Same with Ewan Bremner. And sure, I could just reach into the vault and pull out a Stallone connection from the past like I did last week, but I'm not going to, because this week's Stallone connection is the director of Snowpiercer, Bong Joon-ho. On May 26, 2019, Bong Joon-ho won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival for his film Parasite. The Palme d'Or got it right this year, as did the Oscars. But very much like the Oscars, sometimes Cannes gets it wrong. For instance, in 2006, the winner of the Palme d'Or was The Wind That Shakes the Barley, a movie I've seen. And while it's good, it isn't the best movie that was released in 2006. For those of you who might not remember, 2006 was a huge year for movies. It was the same year that gave us A Night at the Museum and Scary Movie 4. The highest grossing movie of that year was Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Are you kidding me? Is that what came out in 2006?
Oh,
well, Cars was in second. Followed by X-Men, The Last Stand. Holy hell, these movies are awful. Superman Returns, Ice Age, The Meltdown, Happy Feet. I forgot those were even movies. What a terrible year. No wonder why Marvel completely took over the box office. X-Men Last Stand was the third highest grossing movie of that year, and that movie sucks. Anyway, on May 16th, 2019, Bong Joon-ho, who directed the movie Parasite, won the big award of the Cannes Film Festival, and attending that ceremony was none other than the only guy in the 70s who didn't try to start a vanity singing career, Sylvester Stallone. He was there to promote Rambo: Last Blood, which was weirdly not up for any awards at Cannes.
What?
Completely shafted. He can be seen in pictures wearing a tuxedo with white pants and a black jacket, which is a total baller move if you got man ass for days, which Stallone totally does. He was also there to present an award for the second prize at Cannes, which went to a director I didn't bother to write down because it adds nothing to my bit. And there you have it, ding-a-lingers. This week's Stallone connection is none other than Bong Joon-ho. I'm Sean Kovacs. You are so very welcome.
Thank you, because I certainly wouldn't. I mean, of all the people, I would not have chose him to be the connection for this. But that's why we play the game, everybody. That's why you play the game. Well, over at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system if you'd like to check that out. And, of course, get access to all of the finest superhero memes I can find. Head on over to Facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. The Robin rating system's right there at the top of the screen. Throw us a like, why don't you? Bruce, where does Snowpiercer fall on the Robin rating system for you?
It's a good movie. I mean, there's no debating that. It's like one of those, did you like it or did you not like it? Not is it good or is it not good? There's also part of me that knows that there are people that like this movie better than I do, and I respect that, and I have no reason to argue with them. And it's not that I dislike it, but I'm not going all the way to the top. I'm going with a Tim Drake, but like the lower end of the Tim Drake even. So it's still a good rating, but it's not all the way to the top like some people would say this deserves, and I respect them for that thought. I know that people aren't going to agree with me for not giving it higher than a good rating, but it just, like I said, I think there's something there that I'm missing that other people get. And there's also part of me that worries that maybe there's folks that try to use this movie as an argument against trying to stop global warming or something. Like there are those weird people who use something totally fictional as a valid argument. Well, you don't want snow, do you, Bruce? Hello. Turn your cars on and leave them on while you go to sleep, everybody. Sean, you saw what happened in that Korean movie when they tried to stop global warming. You don't want that to happen in America, do you? That's right. You keep global warming going like the good Lord intended. Sean, what's your rating for this?
This is a soothing balm that fixes all my wounds. The last thing that we've seen that I really liked was Lone Wolf and Cub. Love that movie. But everything else we've seen has just been awful and been like work to watch. So this was just so nice. I love this movie. It just hits all of my buttons. I'm going to use this as a method to stop global warming. I just love everything about this movie. It's a total Dick Grayson for me. It is the best movie. Man, actually, I can't even say that because I really do love Lone Wolf and Cub. It's between Lone Wolf and Cub and this for the best movie we've seen this year.
You hear that, Patreon people? You've made an old podcaster very, very happy today. Good job. For me, I'm a lot with Bruce, but I think I'm going to go just a very solid down-the-road Tim Drake. Very, very good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll be coming back to it again in probably a couple years. This feels like a busted out, once every 3-4 years kind of flick. So that may be the route that I go. And again, if you saw Parasite and you go, oh, this new director, as far as you're concerned, this new director, I've never seen anything that he's done before. This is definitely one that's very approachable for American audiences to check out. And as we're recording this, it's up on Netflix right now, so it's a very easy thing to check out. So check out Snowpiercer, man. That's a high review from all of us here. Thank you very much to those people that supported the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Like I said, no matter what level you donate at, you are able to vote on the movie that we watch every single month. And we'd like to thank all of those fine people for their patronage of this program. These 300 episodes, and I gotta say, I'm so happy that we are here. We don't like making big giant episodes. We did like a fancy episode 100, and that's gonna be about it. The rest are just gonna be nice, awesome things like this. But 300 episodes, and I gotta say, I'm always happy every week to sit down with you guys and talk silly little superhero movies and all the other fun stuff that we do in all of our other podcasts. So congratulations, boys.
And we promise to make a big deal when we get to episode 1 million.
Yeah, once we get to that 1 million episode, whoo, the party poppers will be coming out in style. But the next week, we'll talk about that in just half a second. How's that for a fun teaser? Boom! Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'd love for people to go listen to my storytelling podcast, my 6-part little experimental thing over on Heroes and Villains, where I'm telling you the story of Nerdspawn Genesis. So go listen to that if you haven't yet. Let me know what you think. I would love that.
Sean, we got people all over the internet right now going, man, I got this Disney Plus and the Mandalorian is over. I'm sick of having to pay all this money for this. What's up, man? What? I mean, is anyone going to have anything else to watch on Disney Plus that what they would enjoy and then find a podcast about later, which they can gush about on the internet?
Well, there's this thing called Clone Wars. And yes, I know it's a cartoon, and I'm the guy who's usually not the cartoon guy.
The topsy-turvy, this world.
But I do watch and enjoy Clone Wars. And we have Clone Wars 30 Questions. It has come out the same day that this podcast has come out. So please check that out, where we ask 30 questions about each episode of Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Season 7.
Available wherever you find finer podcasts. And next week, guys, we are going to be covering the entirety of Lock and Key. That's been on Netflix for a couple of weeks. We've been kind of putting it off, give everybody a chance to get through the entire season, and we're going to be reviewing all of that as of next week. And, of course, as always, breaking down the comic book connection and how it's connected to Sylvester Stallone. Why? Because that's what you fine people have come to know and expect. These 300 episodes, and we'd like to thank you for that, and thank you for reviewing us on iTunes, supporting us on Patreon, and all those good stuff. Until next week, when we're covering the entirety of Lock and Key Season 1, for Sweet Shanti from the internet, Bruce, Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais.